Hey, welcome to another episode of The Influential Nonprofit. As you know, I'm your host. My name is Mary Ann Dersh, and I work with nonprofit leaders to master the art of influence so they can ask for and receive all they want, need, and deserve without feeling pitchy or pushy or any of those things that none of us want to feel and that don't really work anyway. And I am very excited for this conversation today with my guest, John Lepp, the partner creative director of Agents for Good, because we are going to talk about crafting narratives that truly move people to give, doing it in a way that is authentic and a true, real emotional connection. And that's my favorite word. I think in 2025 or 2023, the word of the year was authenticity. So
Mm.
that's my favorite word. Welcome, John. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Ryan. That's very kind. I appreciate it. Nice to be here as well.
Okay, so you are a direct response strategist, designer, author, 25 years experience. So we've both been around for a few decades.
Yep. Yep. A while.
You champion donor-centered approaches that prioritize, like I said, authenticity and emotional connection. And you have a book, Creative Deviations, has
Mhm.
inspired fundraisers worldwide to embrace creativity and storytelling and communication. Yay! Like I said, we're already speaking the same language. All right. You empower fundraisers to build more meaningful donor relationships, which is exactly what I help people do as well. So I'm so excited. Before we start, I always ask the same question, which is, tell me something you're very proud of that you don't get to brag about a lot.
Oh gosh. Oh God. Yeah, I hate these like right hook questions.
It wasn't meant to stump you.
I don't talk a lot about my children, but especially in the way I think I've parented my children. I've tried to create space where they can have open dialogue with me about anything for better or for worse. And like I tell some of my parent friends, when you create that space, you have to be prepared for anything. And it's the greatest joy, even though when they bring you stuff that you're like, oh my God, I'm not sure I can deal with this. But I'm delighted I created this space where they feel like they can come to me with anything. And I think that's beautiful to me. So that's the
It's
best thing.
like you can tell me anything and they're going to tell you anything. You're like, whoa. You can't be like, oh, wait, not that thing. I
And I'm
said, tell
not
me anything.
and I'm not judging them. I'm just trying to listen with an empathetic ear and sometimes ask, do you just need to voice something to me, or are you asking for help? And just make sure I'm clear what my role is and with the thing they're sharing with me or putting on my lap. So yeah,
Yes.
it's great.
So one of the things that I work with folks on is, the idea of empathy and in the way that I work with empathy is I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to like it. I don't have to understand it. I just have to believe that that's your truth. And using empathy instead of sympathy. So not trying to solve or fix a problem. And I
Mhm.
find that is most helpful with my kids that um like if your child would say, like small kids, right? I'm afraid of the dark. Like, oh, there's nothing to be afraid of, instead of I'm afraid of the dark. Oh no, that sounds so scary. Tell me
Yeah.
what you're afraid of. And because we want to solve and fix things, right? That's especially as parents. And I just found that that approach of just validating, even if like I don't have to agree it, I don't have to like it, does it make my heart race a little bit? Yeah, like do you get a little squirmy? Yeah, but and I feel like it has just in my life in general, but especially with my kids, that it's like what you're saying, which is I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to give advice. I'm just here to listen and validate where you're coming from, because in the end, that's what's going to build the trust, and that's what's going to allow them to open up, because the people don't tell you things because they think they're going to you're not going to tell your boss something or your board something because you think you're going to get in trouble, right? And I think you're modeling a lot of really good communication practice that can work anywhere. Right?
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's talk about what your take is on how we can build more meaningful donor relationships, because that is, I think, one of our biggest problems, like chronic issues here, is how can I truly create meaningful relationships with donors?
recognizing that not all donors want to have a meaningful relationship with you, but you have to be available for it. And again, it comes back from a place of empathy and vulnerability. Do you know what I mean? Like we are working at organizations that theoretically have a mission that we're trying to meet and serve, and we need help from others. Like that's our starting place. And I am beside myself as I've moved through my career watching this idea of like over like being overly professional, like or like this idea like people like I deal with marketing comms folks a lot where it's like, well, we can't say it because it's off brand. I'm like, you can't use the word uh like love, care, hopelessness, because it doesn't meet your brand style guide. Like we've created these boundaries. I call it like professional bubble wrap. We wrap ourselves in so
Ah, hmm.
like come at us or like tell us we're being overly sensitive. Again, as I say all the time, I don't need to tell probably any woman anywhere the number of times you're told to stop being so sensitive. Like, and how that's not being professional. I fucking hate that. I just hate this idea. Like the whole principle, because we have to be like you and I are going to connect by having a values-filled conversation with one another, which we've already done in the last 5, 10 minutes.
Right.
We're being vulnerable, we're being emotional, we're connecting with each other as humans. That's how we create engagement with donors, is doing what you and I are doing right now. Not by me be going, well, me showing up in a suit and tie and in a big desk with gold stuff around me. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's not how we create engaging conversations with donors or
I,
relationships.
yeah, I always bring it down to like the one-on-one. So if you and I were friends and every time we met, you were very polished and you wouldn't show any cracks and you would never admit that anything was wrong. That I'm like, come on now. Come on, right?
Yeah,
Please. Like this is not for real. This is not who you are. Um, and that, you know that they're not really being truthful or honest. And I think it comes back to trust. Which is to trust your donors, trust your people that they can understand nuance, that they can understand um, a true story, that it may not always be the most clear cut, um, uh, story arc that you have, and yet it's still meaningful. And I think that for me is the biggest thing is like just trusting them with the truth. And because you use the word authenticity, which I love because there's so much crap and filters and posing in the world. Like you said, you're buttoned up, and all of this. And people just crave authenticity. They want to know the real thing because then they feel like, first of all, trusted. And second of all, that they feel trusted. And then they're more likely to then feel part of the community, feel connected.
agreed. And I mean, using the word authentic is thrown around quite a bit these days, but truly being authentic is scary, right? Because that's
Yes.
what people don't want to do it. I think, again, I think of like people, my boss won't let me write that or won't let me say that or do that. And especially if the boss is signing the letter, do you know what I mean? Because the boss doesn't want to look unprofessional. They don't want to use emotional language. They don't want to be judged by other people, which is what it comes down to. We're fearful of being judged and outcasts by other humans.
Yep.
It's ingrained in our DNA since, for 30,000 years now. So it's a hard thing to sort of get out of being ourselves in a position where we're stepping out of line to do something that all of a sudden that we're looking different than everyone else is looking. There's bits of us that from a decision science point of view, from a behavioral science point of view, like we don't want to do that. So we're fearful of doing it, which is why organizationally we don't want to change things. We're afraid of change because we could fail. And
Right.
it means doing something different than that's been done before. And that's scary territory. It
And
shouldn't be.
this is why, my company, Courageous Communication, this is why it was born because, you and I, I have marketing background, right? Like worked with nonprofits for decades on marketing and messaging. What I found is that I can create a really amazing message because people want to stand out. They want to be different, but then they really don't.
No, they don't.
Right? They don't because
No,
being standing out can be scary, right?
yeah.
So it wasn't the message, it was their ability to stand in the value of that message and to want to stand in their true values and release the outcome of like right because of the trying to please everyone and my whole book is about praise and criticism and that's just life. I had to learn that for myself, right? I had to learn that I was overly dependent on praise and terrified of criticism, and that made me like in a way superficial. I'll just use that word. And but my all my clients were the same way. They were overly dependent on praise and terrified of criticism, and it made them boring, right? Because they had to show this certain image of themselves all the time. And when you can step out of that and really embrace your true value, that's when the real meaningful, long-lasting relationships start. That's when I realized that this wasn't about the words, right? It was about, right, our energy creates our thoughts create words, words create reality. It was about the thoughts and the energy behind the words. And that's really what I started to work on is is helping people step into their own power and their own value so they could do that for their organization, right? And knowing that as long as I'm true to our mission and vision, it's okay. We're doing the right thing, and the money will be there instead of trying to have these messages where they if I craft it this certain way, it's going to be this special little key that'll unlock all the money, right? If I
Hmm.
say this specific thing in this specific way, or if I get the messaging just right, oh, that'll unlock it, right? And then, right, and that's just not how it works.
Not how it works. And so, yeah, I always bring back things to real life, which is in relationships with people who are important to us, we have to do the hard work. Like I always put the onus on me to show up for my friends and my partner and my family. That's my responsibility. As organizations, it's your responsibility to show up for your donors, to again to give them space to share their stories with you. But it's the hard work is mine. It's not theirs. Like we blame donors for everything all the time. They're fatigued, they're tired, they didn't well like they don't care, like they didn't want to give to this thing. We have to look at ourselves occasionally and go, how could we have done this better? Like where did we
Right.
fall short on some things? We have to take a little more responsibility for ourselves, which is a hard thing to do.
It
I get
is. It is.
yeah.
It can be. And so how do you work with organizations to help them step into that more meaningful, authentic, messaging and connections?
It is really about like just a mindset a change, realizing that's not about what we do, it's what our donors help us make possible. Like you have to like if unless I can't see someone or an organization adapting that mindset in all the things, we're in trouble. But it's like you said, same. I've been hired because people were like, "Oh, we saw that amazing thing that you did at a conference or whatever. We want something like that." And you give them exactly what they wanted, and they're like, "Oh, we can't do this. Like
Right.
this is way too
No, no, no,
serious
no.
about that."
Yeah.
You're like, "Well, that was what you knew. That's what I was going to do. Like what we were going to do because it's the right thing to do." But the biggest thing is it's not really that difficult, honestly. Like if people find it difficult being human to other humans, we've got a bigger problem on our hands. And the strange thing in my work is if you look at creative deviations, I share a lot of examples of using different types of voices to talk on behalf of organizations because they can say a lot more empathetic, authentic stories than humans can, and donors will write back to these bags, hearts, trucks in the most outpouring, beautiful
All
expressions.
right. Tell me more about that. I want to understand this better.
Okay,
What's
for an example, for a hospital foundation, this hospital had gone through a capital campaign. All their stuff was boring. I'll paraphrase, boring as shit. It was just overly branded, everything as you can imagine. And so we were like, we're gonna create a character called Humbert, which was a talking heart because it was Humber River. So Humbert was this voice, and we let Humbert take over the appeals increasingly so as they got results, and Markencom still hated it, but they're like whatever, and we did this, and donors would write back the most beautiful things talking to Humbert. like sharing bits of their stories, beautiful expressions of love, etc., etc., etc. Like tons and tons, you get lots of these things back. And the thing is, I've rarely, in fact, I've never seen donors write these kinds of messages back to like EDs or
Right.
CEOs, to these professional people leading us in organizations. We've created a problem where our professional leaders are unapproachable. Like I talk about things like some kind of granular. Don't let your ED write their signature like this. If you're only listening, that means I just scribbled my name, because we if you go to an appeal letter, people sign names like this all the time, and it sends a signal to your donor that the person signing is way more important than them, because they can't be bothered to take the time to write their name out so it's readable, right? It's a small little
Mm,
thing that says I'm really important and you're just here to do one job, which is give me money. And then they give us money anyways. God bless their hearts, these donors. And then we don't thank them. We don't tell them what we did with it, but we'll be back soon enough to ask them for more money. And then, we'll complain that they're tired of getting our appeals,
right.
because they stop giving. And it's like, it's their fault. So again, we do have, I'm going all over the place here, but we do have a problem right now in our sector where I think more and more people are making decisions that because the bad stuff they're doing isn't working, it's a donor's fault, and so we're just not going to do that anymore, which is strategically the worst decision you could possibly make. But I see people stopping doing direct mail, for example, because it doesn't work. Nothing we do works. Well, you're not doing the job to show up properly for the donor so they can show up for you. So it's not them, and it's not the channel that's not working. It's you that's not working.
It's the message. It's the message, the intention of like the direct mail piece. This is what you're saying.
It's again telling a great story, making sure that I'm offering you a crystal clear offer and asking for something very specifically, so you understand if I'm asking you $50, which is a solvable problem for you, you know what it's going to do. And when you do it, I'm like, Marianne, thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I want to send my heartfelt thank you. This is what we did with the $50. We were able to give the kids a party with pizza, just like we told you about. Here's a picture of the kids. So happy. You're amazing. Thank you for your support. We don't do any of that. We don't do anything like that. And it's so being humans to each other should be the simplest thing in the world to do, and everyone's terrified to do it. Everyone's
Yeah.
terrified to do it.
Yeah. I think we were sold a lot of crap that of like how to fundraise that really was a very like sort of patriarchal capitalist way of selling, which doesn't even really work in that, and like in the for-profit world either of, pitch, push, sell, convince, um, and that that makes people terrified because they feel like they have to be pushy or pitchy. My work is grounded in the value in this main tenet, which is you can't make somebody care. The reason why somebody cares about a cause has to do with their own lived experience. And the meaning and the value that they see is not in your specific words, because I love words. Words are my thing. I love words, but people don't give because of the words we create. They give because there's something in their heart that connects to those words, right? So I can't change or what's in people's hearts. I can only work with what's there. And so I'm not trying to make somebody care. That is where I think because that's terrifying because you can't do it. And when they try to do it and then they get so down because they're trying to make somebody care and they can't. They don't know. And they're like, oh, well, obviously that didn't work. Well, no, that you have out and so the marketing, and this is my philosophy. I'm interested to see how you feel. The marketing is designed not to make somebody care about a cause, but to find like-minded people and bring them into your community, right? And make them feel connected to something they truly care about and that they are providing a better outcome for whatever the cause is because of their involvement. And whatever that involvement is, it doesn't always have to be money. And that is what the true work of the messaging is, right? Not to make somebody be different, but to find those like-minded people and say, hey, if you're interested in this, here we are. Come find us.
it's about values, alignment of values, right? Like make an assumption that someone who's given to you before, believes in something that you also believe in. Sometimes organizationally we're a little short on like what our true like values are. And like I try to spend some time going through appeal letters and showing like your letters should be filled with value expressions that are connection points to your donors because it echoes how I feel about certain things in my heart as well. It's not about, like you said, it's not about convincing anyone to do anything. You and I both meet people all the time. Some people you click with right away, and
Sure.
you're like, nice person, whatever. And I think we can, as charities, it's in donors, it's the same thing. Some charities like, oh yeah, this is quite important to me. I also believe that this is a problem that we should be fixing. And some things are like, cool, environment, neat, like grass is great, but I don't really care that much. But children's education, oh, like gets my heart beating fast and stuff. And so it's not about convincing anything. You're just sort of if you're in that space, you share the values, the importance of child's education every way that you can. There's like, I also agree. Yeah. So therefore, I do want to make sure I give the $50 so they can do this or $100 for this. So we're not convincing anybody to do anything. We're again should be connecting to their values. And you can't do that with everyone.
Right.
If you and if I try to be friends with everybody in the world, not only would it be exhausting, I'd fail because I wouldn't be giving anything to anybody. I'd just
Right.
be spending all my time trying to meet as many people as people. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's
Trying to,
nonsense.
yeah,
Doesn't
it
make any
is.
sense at all.
It is like I said, that's why I always bring it down to the human relationship. If I was trying to make everybody like me, I would be the most exhausting person. And that's when an organization they're all shiny and perfect and polished and trying to impress everyone. That's exhausting, and so I want to ask you like what makes a good appeal letter? And like I would love to hear like in defense of direct response because I think I like what you're saying is it's not about the tool or the donor, it's about how you're using it. I think we have, let me just say this real quick, a little bit of magic wanding happening, like, right? Oh, I wanted this to fix it and make me not worry about this anymore. Oh, and it didn't really do that. I don't think there's any one, people ask me all the time, how often should I email? Or, there's no magic formula, right? There's no specific thing. And every channel can be used and it just depends on like how you want to use it. So, what makes a good appeal letter? And
Yes, and I will add to your point, which is you're right. There are pretty much next to no definitives in this craft. If anyone says if you do X, Y will happen, like that doesn't work here. Again, it's like just because again, if I with certain friends, if I do everything the same way with all my friends are all different. So they're not all going to respond the same way to the thing I'm doing, right? So everything is on the flow. You got to be paying attention and appeals. The stuff we're doing for our donors is like that. Yes, I'm a direct mail nerd. I've been doing direct mail since the very beginning. It's probably one of the last channels for really good conversations with donors, and I remind my colleagues of that. It's an opportunity. You have a privilege and a space where you can have great conversations with these humans who care about you. Digital, we all get 1,000 emails every single day. We are overloaded. Just our donors are too, with cat videos, with whatever else is going on in the world. There's a lot of stimulus, but direct mail is an opportunity for contemplation. I'm going to sit down with my cup of tea. I'm going to read this story from this charity that I do care about because they're working towards something that's important to me. And you have again, that's a privilege you can take. What I'm asking my friends and colleagues of is show up for that. Like we have a lot of people who just want to come and check a box and go home. Yeah, send out my peeler today. Check. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah,
yeah,
send off and they're not actually emotionally invested in what they're actually doing, which is what conversation do I want to have or with my donor today? What is happening right now that I know they'll hopefully care about, and how do I want to share that with them, and how do I need to send that to them? But again, with mail, you can still have an opportunity for invitation for conversation. And so like I do lots of things where over and over again, the more mail looks personal, it looks like I sent it to you, like from me to you. the better it performs all the time. So like if I do an appeal letter for a charity, I'll get the letter signer to write their like name and their return address, and I'll use that on the other envelope. And I'll get as many people as I can internally to hand write donors' name and address on. If they can, for the best donors, make sure they put a first class stamp on it on an angle. A couple of them would be even better. Do you know what I mean? And I want
Yeah.
when the donor gets I refer to as dominating the mailbox. I want to dominate your donor's mailbox. So when they go through all those number 10 envelopes that they're getting from all these organizations that have like small little photographs and all this tagline saying all the things on it, I want them to look at mine first. And the best way I can do is make it feel and look personal. But that carries through the messaging. The letter should sound very conversational. Like again, a well-written letter should sound like I'm thinking of you today, and I want to share a story with you that I hopefully you'll care about. And here's what I need your help with, and here's what you can do. And it's also a little like this is important. It's urgent. Like I always say, the best fundraising should be a bit breathless. God, we
Mm,
spend months and months crafting these frigging appeals with 17 rounds of approvals and people, and we strip all of the urgency and breathlessness out of it. But the best appeals are personal and breathless. Like it,
yeah.
because that's what life is. Again, that's what life is like. If I've got a problem with something that's happening in my world, and I need to want to go for lunch with you to tell you about it and see if I can get your help. Like it's urgent. It's not a
Right.
problem 4 years down the road. It's right now I need your help with, and here's
Yeah.
why. Like
Yeah. And
simple to say.
I love that the sense of like breathless. I was just thinking about like my best friend, like we meet once a month. Like that's our like my best friend Jim, we've been ride or die since we were 19. And we like we get together and it's like that feeling like, oh my God, I literally have a list on my phone of the things that I want to, and it's like da 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 da. Da. And you are just speaking from the heart. And that goes back to what we were talking about before, which is the idea of being open and honest and authentic and having emotion and and be willing to that. I am a big advocate for the idea of like don't be too sensitive or being emotional or whatever. Like that's crap. Tears have a point. And whoever said there's no crying at work is just crap,
Yeah, I
because
agree.
it is part of it is just how we process feelings, right? And if you're not willing to put feelings out there, it's heart, mind, wallet, right? Like the heart first. And that's if you're to make an emotional connection, it's going to be hard to make the intellectual connection in order to get a financial investment. And the other thing that I want to say is one of the biggest things I say all the time is relationship first, money will follow. And what makes this icky and weird is like I'm making friends with you because you have money. That's manipulative, disingenuous. It just doesn't feel right. And if it doesn't feel right, people aren't going to do it. But if I'm making friends with you because we have a genuine connection, right? And you have a cause or an issue that that person or that person might care about, and then you connect with them and that's very different, right? And that's what I'm talking about, authenticity. I'm connecting with you because I truly believe that what I'm doing has value, and that I wouldn't be bringing it to you if I didn't think you saw value in it as well. I just wouldn't. And
I mean, the thing is, when you want to sit down and look at it, it goes really, really deep. Like I talked about people like trying to reconnect with their inner creative, young, childlike creative. And the thing is that, children are triggering to adults. Because why are children triggering to adults? Because they make us feel stuff.
yeah,
Do you know? Like we're almost in a space where again, and I've seen this all the time, which is like my partner who's a writer, Rachel, like writes great emotional letters, and they get rejected and shut down because people are like, this made me feel angry. And I don't want to feel that way. But we're like, well, this is a problem, and we've done that on purpose. We want people to feel angry, but we've created a space too where people like get upset when they feel things, And we want donors feeling something. It's the emotions that make us take action. And it
Yes.
can be joy, it can be anger, it can be sadness, whatever it is. But like you said, with your girlfriend, when you're doing that, when you're breathly's catching up and stuff like that, you're sharing lots, not only lots of values, but lots of emotions, good,
Yeah.
bad, jerk off, X, like all the things, right?
Yeah.
And that propels us to like help, take action, listen, be aware, care. Like it's the emotions that move us to do something. But again, we have a lot of folks who like even the people signing off on these things, the fundraisers themselves, when we write emotional letters, they get upset because they felt something and they didn't like it. Right. And again, well, I'm reminding them, well, you're not the donor anyway, so I'm not that concerned whether you like it or not. My brief never is to do something that you like because I'm doing something for a donor who I do imagine, especially with uh, direct male being 65 to 90 year old, 5 years old, and a woman. So like, you're not them. So nothing I'm doing
Yes.
is for you at all. I don't,
Right.
whether
Yeah.
you like it or
Say
not.
if the ED or boss or whatever and says, I don't get it, you're like, yeah, you're not supposed to. Like
It's
because
not.
and I think that is one of the most dangerous killers of creativity is when somebody says, like, I don't get it. You're not supposed to get it. It's not for you. And they want like, or I wouldn't give to like they'll read the appeal. I wouldn't give to that. Great, because I'm not asking you.
Yeah.
You're not the audience.
Yeah.
And this being, because we mentioned this, we didn't really discuss it a lot, but the the 17 layers of approval and all of that, again, that goes back to trust, that the communication, the marketing, the fundraising knows what they're doing, to trust and like, and to just be allowing of, yeah, I'm not really comfortable with it. And also, I trust that it's not for me and you know what you're doing. Because one of the things about marketing is really good marketing feels effortless, right? When you come across a really good piece that just hits you where it should, you're like, man, this is amazing. You don't understand that it takes a lot to get to clear, concise, and direct and hitting that right emotion. And so they want to kind of overreach in the process of creating that, but instead of just allowing the process to happen and trusting the result. And that's where I would see it. And I know you've probably seen it a million times. Good ideas go out the window because it made somebody uncomfortable or it just got like approval by committee and and so now we're negating things just to appease people so that we can get it out. And it then it doesn't connect right. And they're like, well, that didn't work. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, we have to spend some time looking at ourselves, and I try to be crystal clear that this you have to check your own subjectivity and your own biases in this work. Like even my own, like
Yeah.
as a designer, which I still do design sometimes, I have to check myself in terms of my solution. But I'm like, I have to go back to the brief. What was the objective? What were we trying to accomplish? And did my solution do that? So even when I have other designers that I work with, I look at stuff and I go, well, I wouldn't have done it that way. And I don't really like it that much, but does it meet the brief? Will it do the thing I need? I'm supposed to get this thing to do. If it does, then good to go.
Yeah.
I won't obsess over someone's decision the way they did something because people. Hopefully, I'm working with people who are really smart. But again, we have to check our own biases and our own opinions. And again, yeah, if your boss doesn't like it, I don't care, not even one little bit, because that's not that. And also, I'm coming from this like from 25 plus years of experience. I'm connected to like fundraisers like me all around the world who are working in lots of different markets, trying lots of different things. I go to conferences all the time, sitting at a Tom Ahern session this afternoon. Like I'm constantly learning. Your boss has never read a book, like
Right.
ever. Like I've never seen them at a conference. I've never encountered them in my sessions. I don't care what they think because they're coming at it from an uneducated point of view. Again, totally different rant, but we have to just be aware of ourselves and the people we're hiring. If you've hired good people who have experience, and again, talking to the boss out there, you've hired someone for a reason. Trust them. Like you said, just trust them in what they're doing. Let them do their job. And if you're that person doing the job, then check your own biases, check your own beliefs, make decisions from an informed point of view.
Right. And one of the biggest things I have is like release the outcome. Sooner or later, you have to let go of the result. You just put it out there and see what happens instead of trying to control for every outcome, because the more we try to control, the less control we actually have, right? Like, because, and so just letting it go. There's certain times you just put it out there and let the world meet the message and see what happens. And I want to bring up something really quick that you said earlier that I think is important, which is a lot of times what I see is people try something like a direct mail campaign and they're like, and it didn't really work the first time. They had a lot of high expectations and those expectations weren't met. And they say, okay, well, that didn't work. And then they stop. And then, okay, well, let's do email. And then they go to email. And well, that didn't work because it takes time for things to catch on. It takes time to get traction in the marketplace. It takes time to break through. So what I see a lot is let's try this. And if it doesn't get immediate results, they're like, oh, well, that didn't work.
Yeah.
Instead of giving a program or something a chance to build, right? So that direct mail piece, maybe it's you're doing a campaign, several mailings over, months or years, or like an email or social media or whatever it is, if it's not immediately getting traction, which is not how it works. So at the beginning, you have to do a lot more than you're going to get back, right? It probably is not going to show you results right away, but that doesn't mean it's not worthy and it's not working.
Yeah, I agree. And usually, I know when we start working with a new client, often, like obviously, as a consultant, I want to see quick results, like quick wins.
Yeah,
How can I build quick wins in so I don't get fired? But crystal clear, you've been ignoring your donors for a long time. Like it's you got to work hard to get their trust back, and I'll help you with that. But let's give it a couple appeals, and
yeah,
as we talked about, it's a very, very very, very, very complicated, busy place out there in the world. Our donors have real lives. They've got stuff to do, and they're focusing on the most important things. And I'm sorry, your latest annual appeal that you're sending out on September 2nd is not at the top of their list. So, like, just check that self. And tactically and technically speaking, also most charities are trying to talk to too many people at one time. That's the real place where it all falls down. Because in marketing, the most important thing is your list. You need to make sure you're talking to as few as people as possible so it gets through because they're the ones who probably care. So most charities mail way too many people and they spend way too much money on mailing people who are never going to pay any attention and never do anything. And so it makes the whole thing look like it failed. Well, it didn't. If you actually look at the right part of the list of people who do care the most, they did exactly what you want them to do. So most charities, I see that as a classic errors. The list is just trying to talk to too many people at the same time.
yeah. Or I call them fantasy relationships. They, I don't know how you got this person's name, but they were never going to give. They never are going to give. Just let them go. We
No.
release what no longer serves us to make room for what does. It's like let them go. And so that you can find the people who really will give. And there's a phrase, I can't remember where I learned this, but the riches are in the niches, like, and we want this big list and all these followers. But it doesn't matter if you have a list of, 10,000 people, if they're really not people who are going to be, who really care about the cause. I'd rather have 500 people on a list of
Right.
rabid, raving fans who, and I'm getting huge open rates, then just we have people on the list to be on our list so we can say we have people on the list. And you're
Mhm.
right. Then your metrics, optics, the metrics make it look like it's not working.
Yeah.
And you're wasting a lot of
Yeah.
money,
Yeah. Especially in mail. Because then you
Yeah.
literally driven by like we only can only spend $1.10 per pack because we're trying to mail 10,000 people. Well, why don't you just mail 1,000 people at a pack that costs $6 and it's going to perform way better for you and raise a lot more. It's just counterintuitive. We all think, well, the more people I've talked to, the more likely I'm going to make more money. Well, no, that's not true. Actually, the less people you're talking to, especially at charities, you're getting 80% of your revenue from 20% of your people anyways. So do the right pack for them
Yeah.
or the right email for them and the right conversation for them and the right ask for them. That's where you have to spend your time and effort and your energy. So again, it seems counter to what people think is true. Well, actually, if you go read something and learn about some of the stuff that you and I have been learning about for a long time, it's there. The knowledge is there. I don't I'm not
Yeah.
going to do is try to convince someone that something they think is true is not. But
So
the stuff, the work
now
can
we
be very,
all,
very simple sometimes.
yes, awesome. We all have to read creative deviations now so we can learn how to do this.
If you wish, if you wish.
Absolutely. So, we're about out of time, and
Okay,
so I have a couple more things. One
okay.
is there anything else you want to say? I want you to speak to that marketing comms person that knows the right way to do it and wants to, but is having a hard time implementing that change inside their organization.
Yes, it's important. I have the luxury and the privilege to meet a lot of folks like this at the conferences I go to all the time. And the most important thing is I see you. I see you for your energy. I see you for your effort. I see you for your enthusiasm. I see you for your care and your love. And please don't stop. Don't stop because of the people around you. Again, just like in real life, if you are not being appreciated, you are not being seen for your energy and your effort, then ask yourself, is this the right place for me? But please don't ever stop being vulnerable. Please don't stop being emotional. Please don't stop trying to tell the amazing stories of the things that you and your donors make possible. And tell it with as much love and as much energy and as much vulnerability as you possibly can, because that's the reward of life, is when we live our life like that. It's a beautiful, amazing place.
Wow, it is.
Yeah,
Ooh, I think somebody should, I don't know, if you're that person, just take that snippet, listen to that every day in the car on the way to work, make that your mantra. Just don't stop. I have a client right now and she'll start to cry when she thinks about the cause that she represents. And I'm like, and she apologized. I do not ever apologize for the
I
passion that you
apologize.
have for
Yeah,
your cause. Do not ever apologize. Like it is okay to tear up at how much joy that you feel in this organization. Like, no, that is because you can't teach that. You can't train somebody. We can teach people how to be better communicators, but you can't teach somebody how to be more passionate about something.
agreed.
All right. So my last question, John, um,
Yes,
um, now that we're best friends,
yeah,
is I love karaoke. That's my favorite thing. So if you're ever in St. Louis or I'm in
yes.
Vancouver and we wind up in a
Okay.
karaoke bar, what's your go-to song, friend? What are you singing for me?
Oh no. Ah, God, I listen. Oh, it's probably something by the Beatles, probably. I,
Okay.
I don't know what.
You could sing Hey Jude. That was my favorite song when I was 5.
Hey, it's pretty good, but the range in it is difficult for someone with
Oh,
voice.
okay.
So I have to be
Are you a
pretty.
big Beatles fan? Is that
I'm a big Beatles fan, but I love lots of different types of music. Like I always have. So that's why I'm like, oh, how to pick one? I should pick something. So when people ask me this question, I have an answer. But I think something by the Beatles. It would be
okay?
my guess.
All
Yes.
right, we're gonna do it. It's a date.
Okay. It's a thing.
John, thanks so much. How
Thanks,
can
Marion.
people stay in touch with you? I have some links in and I will put them in the show notes. What's the best way?
Well, if they want some free resources for some of the things I've talked about, agentsofgood.org/resources, I've got some free like cheat sheets for appeals or crafting your love story that you're trying to have with your donors. You can like get them and download them. They'll be
Love that.
useful.
Love that.
But yeah, I'm active on LinkedIn. I'm talking a lot about decision science these days and creativity and trying to get people inspired to like try different ideas and try different ways working in their craft. But please reach out. I love talking to other nerds and caring humans like me. So always happy to chit chat,
Awesome. Thank you, John. This has been wonderful. And I
Marianne.
hope we were a breath of, enthusiasm and a charge of energy to all the our communicators out there
Me
to
too.
boost them because what we are here to do is create aligned, authentic, long-term relationships. And we're just finding the best way to do that.
Bless you. Thank you,
Uh,
Marianne.
all right. Thanks, John. And that's it for this episode.
Have a
And if you
bed.
want to get in touch with me, of course, my link is always in the show notes. I'm happy to chat with you to talk about how you can grow your influence. And that is it for this episode of The Influential Nonprofit.